After Ukrainian intelligence services launched systematic strikes on oil refineries, Russia faced a massive fuel crisis. According to experts, since August 2025, 21 of the country's 38 largest oil refineries has been targeted by Ukrainian drones. Many facilities, including the Kirishi, Ryazan, Afip, and Novoshakhtinsk refineries, have suffered repeated damage. Ukrainian expert Petro Oleshchuk stated that the fuel crisis could become one of the triggers for the destabilization of Putin's regime from within. He analyzed the situation for Charter 97. As a result of the destruction, oil refining capacity was sharply reduced, leading to gasoline and diesel shortages in more than half of Russia's regions. Queues at gas stations, empty pumps, and fuel supply disruptions became a familiar sight, even in central regions. Putin's government attempted to conceal the crisis, claiming it was temporary difficulties, but the true scale of the problem can no longer be denied. The attacks on Russia's oil infrastructure dealt not only an economic blow, but also a political one. The decline in revenues from oil and petroleum product exports deprived the Kremlin of some of the foreign exchange earnings that financed military spending. Now Moscow is forced to spend its reserves and take out new loans to sustain the war against Ukraine. But this resource is not infinite. If the fuel shortage continues, Russia will be forced to cut military programs, reduce army payments, and reduce spending on supplying the front. Fuel shortages have also directly impacted the Russian army. Although the military has priority supplies, the overall shortage is unavoidable. Difficulties have arisen with logistics and refueling equipment in the border areas through which supplies for troops fighting in Ukraine pass. Burning oil depots and destroyed storage facilities make the army's supply system increasingly vulnerable. The crisis also exposed internal cracks in the Russian system. While Moscow was self-sufficient in fuel, regions in the Far East and Siberia were plunged into fuel starvation. People stood in kilometer-long lines at gas stations, and governors bombarded the Kremlin with requests to expedite deliveries. Local elites, fed up with being a second-class support force, are growing increasingly frustrated. The Kremlin has been forced to urgently redistribute resources to defuse the tension. But the very existence of a shortage has damaged Putin's image as an effective manager. Furthermore, Russia's ban on gasoline and diesel exports has placed countries dependent on Russian fuel, Kazakhstan, Mongolia, and several post-Soviet republics, in a difficult position. They are now forced to seek new suppliers, while Russia's reputation as an energy superpower has been tarnished. Paradoxically, the Kremlin, awash in oil, is now forced to seek its own fuel supplies abroad. Its status as a gas station, oddly enough, was a major asset for the Putin regime. But now it's being squandered. For example, Belarus, seizing the opportunity, is supplying gasoline to Russia, and Lukashenko openly declares that he is saving a brotherly country. Moscow has also opened supply negotiations with China and Kazakhstan, effectively turning Russia from an exporter into a supplicant. Experts believe that Ukraine's strategy of targeting oil infrastructure has been one of the most effective in the war. It weakens not only the economy but also Russia's military machine. The world sees that even the oil giant is vulnerable to targeted drone strikes, and Ukraine's support is yielding tangible results.
Hundreds of mainly young people marched through the Serbian countryside Friday on a two-day march from Belgrade, aiming to join a major rally in the country's north this weekend that will mark the anniversary of a deadly train station disaster. According to Associated Press, the concrete canopy collapse at the central train station in Novi Sad killed 16 people on November 1st. The tragedy has unleashed a youth-led protest movement against autocratic President Aleksandar Vučić. Protesters believe the victims died because government corruption led to sloppy renovation work at the station. They have been demanding accountability for the disaster, and an early parliamentary election that they hope will oust Vučić's populist government from power. Flag-waving university students on Thursday led the huge column of marchers as they set off on the 90-kilometer journey toward Novi Sad. Saturday's gathering there is expected to draw tens of thousands of people, piling pressure on Vučić. Various other groups of university students also have been trekking across Serbia for 2 weeks before they all converge in Novi Sad on Saturday. Authorities have detained scores of university students and other protesters in the past months, trying to crush the resistance. Police have been accused of brutality toward protesters, including beatings and arbitrary detentions.
Znači, skroz gore.